welcome back to Texas Rangers with the Boys. We are the Boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. And hey, we want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, aka YBK, Kevin Frazier. Listen, guys, listen. No reason to panic. Your Texas Rangers are still the defending World Series champions and just a half game out in the American League West after a rattling weekend in Colorado. We will talk about that. We've got some news on Max Scherzer, and then we did have a major league debut, a very impressive major league debut by a top pitching prospect that we will talk about as well. But first, let me tell you where you can find us on social media. TX Rangers WTB. I guess you can find me on social media too at Kevin Lee Frazier. That's Frazier. You can also find Texas Rangers with the Boys on social media at TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
No, that's our website, but it's all one word.
Just one word. And you can find us right here on YouTube at the CTH Network at Chilltown Hoops. As always, joining me, my co-host, the man with almost a screen's worth of beard, the 300-pound manimal, a.k.a. Bull. How you doing, buddy? Where can they find you on social medias?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. What do you think of this new background we got here today with the Sports Fluent?
Yeah, we got the
Fluent Live. Yeah, we just were chatting with Tony, and we're trying a little something different here. I'm excited about it. I don't know about you. I'm looking forward to all the new exciting things that we've got going on. So if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or something like that, you're going to have to come on over here and check it out on the Chilltown Hoops Network, because we've got a news station behind us. Mm-hmm. We're talking Texas Rangers news. We've got a bunch of box scores to go over from the weekend. We're going to find a silver lining in all of this. I swear we will.
Yes.
Because there were some good things that happened this weekend, even though a lot of it ended up with a bad tail to the end. But overall, there were some good things that happened. We'll talk about those. We're going to talk about Max Scherzer because, nothing that we kind of didn't see coming. I don't know if it's going to be as jarring as a lot of people are thinking. I also don't know that for sure, but being a person that's had herniated discs in his back and neck before, actually, I just was dealing with one last week that flared up that I've never gotten fixed, and that's why I couldn't walk around, because it was pushing down on my sciatica. But anyways, that's a different story for a different day. But we'll talk about Scherzer. Big Major League Baseball debut this past weekend. We got to talk for a minute or two about it. And, just it's baseball season. It's in full effect. We taped last night. We taped our Down on the Farm with the Boys show. So if you want to get over there and check that out, we've got another top 10. We talk a lot about the Down East Wood Ducks, who you're not going to know a ton of players on their team, but we're trying to get you familiar with them. Before we get started, though, I got to tell you that you can find me on Twitter at Manimal Bull, Instagram Manimal300, and both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. And don't forget to get your Memorial Day weekend started right, bro. If you've already listened to the Down on the Farm show, you know exactly what that bro is for. But anyways, Memorial Day weekend, it's Friday, May 24th at the Southside Preservation Hall. It's just a little south of downtown Fort Worth. Matt War Pro Wrestling is going to be back with Slam and Destroy 2. It's going to be a big time. There's going to be 7 hard-hitting pro wrestling matches, including 5 heavyweight matches that I'm looking forward to. Izzy James versus Angel Camacho. You've got Brick Savage versus Sam Stackhouse. You've got Damo McCullough versus Yule Hubbard. You've got Dante Leone versus Dante Smiley, and my favorite heavyweight of them all, Morgan Mercy, will be in action. Morgan's probably going to smash somebody's head off. She's a monster. I love it. She's my favorite heavyweight in Mat War Pro Wrestling, and that's not she wouldn't take that as like a degrading type thing at all. She'd take that as a compliment. But anyways, she's going to be in action. Looking forward to it. They're going to have Kelly's Onion Burgers, and I got a tip that Big Dog's Hot Dogs couldn't make it out on Memorial Day weekend that weekend, so they're going to have chicken heads out there, which is a chicken tenders truck that's going to come out. They've got like 15 different kinds of chicken wings that they bread up or whatever. Come on out to that. If we couldn't have Big Dog's Hot Dogs out there, you got to replace it with the chicken. Everybody loves some chicken strips on Memorial Day weekend. Come on inside, get you a beer from Martin House Brewing, because if you're over 21 years of age, they'll give you one for free. And our favorite, Starry's Ice Cream, she's going to be out there. She's got all the banana pudding, the strawberries and cream. It's going to be a big time. I can't wait for Friday, May 24th, because Mat War Pro will be back out at the Southside Preservation Hall in Fort Worth, Texas.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, let's get right into it. Before we get into too much Rangers, I would just have to say, man, Paul Skeens made his major league debut over the weekend, and I thought, obviously all the hype. I'd seen some clips, seen him throw a nice fastball, but I really hadn't watched him like that intently. Watched some highlights of his strikeouts and just some of his moments in that first game. Man, oh man, does this guy, yes, he's got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, as we've talked to. We ought to have this conversation.
Out the hand?
Yeah,
he throws it 105 out the hand or whatever.
Yeah, we gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about that when we have a little more time sometime. But maybe tomorrow even, because we'll have a little less to talk about than we do today. But anyway, Paul Skeens throwing 100 miles an hour out of the hand. But also, man, he threw a slider thing, maybe a sweeper or whatever it is, and I swear it started 1.5 feet outside of the strike zone, and man, that thing just swirled right back into the outside, hit the outside plate. Then he threw a 95-mile-an-hour. I want to say it was a sinker or something, because it dove right at the end, so he threw it like right at the bottom of the plate, and then right at the last minute, it is 95 miles an hour. And that's
probably a slider.
Well, all these pitches that I saw from him, his slider was the one he threw that had the loopy thing, was 82.
Well, and that's probably 82. A sweeper.
An 80, he's doing 20 miles an hour difference. But here's the impressive part. Obviously, this stuff was just, it was jaw-dropping, Bull. Like, it was jaw-dropping. Like, I watch a lot of baseball. I watch a lot of baseball.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
See this every day. But the thing that was impressive, and I'll stop here and kick it over, was the placement. Like, man, his fastball was on the corners. He wasn't out over the middle of the plate a ton. I did see one fastball that was kind of in the middle of the zone, at the bottom of the zone, that he got it. But most of this stuff was on the corners. You could tell he was hitting his spots. And a guy throwing that electric of stuff and hitting his spots, I can't. The person that just comes to my mind, and again, totally different people, body types, and everything, but just somebody that had that drastic of changes of speeds with such high end velocity was Pedro Martinez with that. We had that change up that just died. He had the curveball the curve, but they're all such different speeds. And it's just he looks he's got dynamic stuff. He's not just go out there and throw 100 miles an hour and then, go and try to catch up to my stuff. That sweeper thing that he threw was wild, man. That thing looked like something from another planet. So pretty exciting debut for Paul Skeens.
Yeah. 4 innings, wild ass game too. That it was like a rain delay. I think the final ended up being 10-9 or something like that. But Skeens, they got him a little bit in that third inning. The second time through the order, they're major league hitters, at the end of the day. But nothing about this makes me think that Paul Skeens shouldn't continue making starts in the big leagues. 7 strikeouts in 4 innings. That's elite stuff. I don't care if he gave up 6 hits and 3 runs or whatever the case may be. He did walk a couple of guys. He probably wants to get that into under wraps a little bit before, that gets becomes a real issue, where he's walking 6 or so every 9 innings or whatever. You want to get that under wraps a little bit, but Paul Skeens, his stuff was impressive. The fastball, slider, sweeper, it all plays. It's all big time stuff, and he can move it with the best of them, but he can run it up there with the best of them as well. So as we're talking about him right now, I mean, there's no reason why I wouldn't believe that Paul Skeens isn't going to be. The only, again, we can't predict injuries, and when guys put him in that same, Strasburg, Kerry Wood, those kind of pitchers, when they talk about them in those sense, those guys were as good as it got whenever they were on the field. Now, did their careers get derailed by some injuries, and it didn't end up Mark Pryor, another one of those guys that they talk about when they talk about him? Yes, of course, those guys that did get derailed by injuries, but when they were on the field, there was nobody better than those guys.
Yeah. Paul Skeens, really, really nice impact, or a really nice first impression as for his major league debut. So let's hop right into our American League West standings. Rangers, of course, if you watch the games, if you looked at the box scores, you looked at the results, if you didn't watch the whole game at any point this weekend, I couldn't say I blamed you. But Rangers lose 3 in a row, get swept out in Colorado, and end up falling a half game behind the not playing so great Mariners. Mariners kind of backed into the lead a little bit by winning 1 game this weekend.
They took 2 or 3 from
I'm sorry.
Oakland.
So they took a couple from Oakland. Oakland, could have done us at least one more favor. But Rangers stay just a half game back, even after what feels like the sky is falling, which lets you know it's really not. And if the Rangers can bounce back against Cleveland at home, and honestly, I mean, they could play out of their minds, sweep it, and then we all forget all about.
Well, yeah, I think that happened a handful of times last year. I mean, I don't know what it is about the Rangers and playing terrible National League teams, but something about it. They have an affinity for losing. Last year. Remember last year they were swept by Cincinnati, Washington, and San Diego. 3 National League teams that underachieved were underachieving at the time that the Rangers were swept by them. So it's one of those things where you're seeing it, and I mean, I don't even feel bad about saying this, but on Friday, me and you kind of called it.
We did.
That they'd make Austin Gomber look like Sandy Koufax for 6 innings, and the next day, I mean, they made some mistakes that ended up, turning into an ugly ball game when David Robertson couldn't get control of his knuckle curve ball. And, Friday was a winnable game. They had a mistake in the outfield from Tavares. I mean, the goddamn kid made the best play of the season and the worst play of the season in the same inning. Sure. I mean, I'm a staunch Leody Tavares fan, but how are you going to make the best catch that we've seen all season and then in the same inning, call off Corey Seager, who's underneath the ball?
Yeah.
I know it's his ball, but, he came a long ways for that.
Rangers have made it a habit this year of playing really bad against the worst.
And it wouldn't be surprising at all that a good Guardians team comes into the ballpark and the Rangers start playing like the Rangers.
If it's your 7, 8, 9 hitters, the Rangers are going to find a way to let them beat them.
Only if they're hitting $112.
if it's your worst pitcher, Rangers are going to find a way to make him look good. If it's the worst team, in the league, Rangers are going to find a way to get swept by him. It's just been a thing all year long. If it's your backup catcher, God Almighty, if you're playing the Rangers, you might as well throw your backup catcher out there for the whole series because he's probably going to have a career series. So
but again, there's some silver lining that comes out of this thing. They continued to get good starts. The bullpen did fall apart, but it was also, on Saturday night it was Robertson, who I don't have a ton of worry about him having a little bit of a rough outing. And all of those, at the end of the day, they could have walked out of there with a couple of wins this weekend, but it wasn't to be. They did end up with a 5-5 10-game road trip, which, if there's a silver lining on the sense that they lost 3 games in a row to Colorado, it's the fact that they did have 4 winning series in a row before that, and they're going to walk out of a 10-game road trip that was played in 11 days with a doubleheader, 500 on that thing, and coming home to the friendly confines.
Yeah, you'd hope they do. Well, hey, we'll talk a little more about the series here in just a little bit. Rangers news. Speaking of calling it, remember when I mentioned that if anything nerve-wise came up, like that it's a big concern? What my favorite part about this report was, and again, just in case you guys on here haven't figured it out, like professional sports, they kind of lie about stuff a lot, and sometimes it just takes common sense.
Football's the worst.
Well, they all lie. I mean, baseball is like, oh well, he's hurt, but we're really just trying to keep him on the team so that we can keep him around. So we're going to throw him on the 10-day IL anyway. Point is, I'm not buying for a second when they said, oh well, it's not related to the back. Give me a break, man. To me, like the whole kinetic chain is connected. And the fact that I mentioned like 3 times that they were super vague about what's going on with his thumb, and they never really said it was like he hit it on something or he sprained his thumb or something like that. Like they didn't say that. He was having pain in his thumb. And in my mind, I'm thinking, man, is this guy having nerve damage? Like, is he having some kind of nerve feedback? And now we're hearing it's nerve in the tricep. And remember, he had the tricep thing last year. Remember that? Like he had the tricep deal at the end of the season last year. I'm sorry, man, but I'm thinking this whole thing this is all got something to do with all of it. Like he's got a full-on thing going on. And I'm just gonna say it, like I'm not banking on Scherzer to play a single game for the Rangers this year. I'll be shocked if he does, because it just seems like things are kind of unraveling for him. I don't mean to be negative, but I'm not going to count on it. Let's just put it that way.
Well, yeah, and that's 100% not out of the realm for sure. Because once you're talking nerves related to back, it all lines up. It all comes together. It's not like no nerve in your body. They're all, anything that's coming to your thumb is coming through your arm, is coming through your tricep, is going back in through your shoulder, through the back, and through that dorsi, all the way back into the spinal cord. So, you're talking herniated disc. You're talking about things that, when you've got them protruded and herniated, like once they're healed, they're still not healed. They're still like, I'm not saying that you can't ever be healthy again. I'm saying you can't ever be the same as you were again. And that's, like I said, I've got those problems with my nerves in my back that every time a disc flares up in my back, it puts pressure right on my sciatica, and it goes all the way down to my ankle. So I don't know exactly why his is going through tricep into thumb, probably because he's a pitcher and that's where he puts the most stress on his body.
Well, let's just okay, so what a herniated disc is, you talk about a hernia. Like when you have a hernia, so say you have the disc, right? Like this is your disc, like in your back, and you have this fluid and it's encompassed like in between the discs, and there's muscles and nerves and stuff, right? So there's fluid inside of the disc, and the fluid is not like it's not like water. It's almost like a rubbery kind of a hardish kind of rubbery fluid. And when the disc tears, okay, so a hernia happens. What a hernia really is it's something's protruding out of a tear, like whether it's an organ or something like that. Like it's something protruding. When you have a hernia in your abdomen, you have a tear in your abdominal wall, and your organs are like protruding through that hernia there. Okay, so like when you have a herniated disc, right? So this is your disc, right? And say this is where the tear is. That spinal fluid comes through that tear, and it sticks out.
And that's where the protrusion comes from.
And it hits a nerve, right? That's why it's herniated, because it's coming through, like that fluid's coming through the disc, and it's protruding and hitting something. And then once it starts to do that, you get inflammation. And then where the inflammation is, like what nerve it's actually hitting is where the feedback comes up, whether it goes down or whether it goes up. And so again, I mean, I don't know exactly what, where the herniation is on Max Scherzer, but if it's in the neck area, there's a definite chance that has to do with the arm, like for sure. And then if it's in the lower back region, that's where you can start getting more of the sciatic stuff. So I don't know everything. They're not telling us everything, but with Scherzer, it's one of those things. Like I'm at the point right now. I went from being optimistic that he was going to be like back in May, and I'm kind of after all the kind of the clandestine, like secretiveness that the Rangers have been having around this. Like I'm not expecting anything from him at all. And I don't mean that to be negative. It's just that like, I don't want to have expectations and play this game all year long. It's like, look, I'm going to plan that like, we're not going to see Scherzer again this year, because this sounds really bad. It doesn't sound good. And again, I'm more concerned about Max Scherzer as a human being than I am about him as a pitcher. And at the end of the day, like, look, man, it's like, it's our team, it's our guys. We want to repeat, we want all that, but like at the end of the day, I want Max Scherzer to be okay. I think the Rangers are going to be getting pitching help one way or another, and that's just kind of my take on Max Scherzer.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, there is that distinct possibility that could happen. There would also be some possibility that he gets a cortisone shot, and that gets the swelling down in the spot that it needs to be, and that he doesn't have those same issues. That could be a possibility too. Now, they're both probably somewhere in the middle of what will happen. You'll probably get some swelling down early on, and you'll feel better, and then you'll have to wait that out to see where you are once you get past that couple of weeks where the cortisone is going to be less likely to help the inflammation than the treatment, the ice, the everything that you've done to get yourself in that position.
Yep. It should be really, it's just going to be kind of one of those wait and see.
I know it sounds really stupid, but really, honestly, ice and like you've turned me on to foundation training and things like that. Those are really the most important things, because the stretching, those are the things that get those worked out and get you back in a spot to where you can feel normal.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I know there are like treatments that you can do and that he can do. But at the same time, I'm not his doctor, for one, and number two, I don't know the extent of what he's got going on. So anyways, Max Scherzer, we're just gonna have to play this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be exactly how it's been all year. Don't be shocked though if that 60-man trip isn't quicker now, especially with them lagging in the bullpen. That
Yep.
brings me to the Rangers signed Peter Solomon to a minor league deal this past weekend. He actually pitched for Round Rock on Sunday. The Rangers are in just as desperate a need of pitching at Round Rock right now as they are at the major league level, because all those guys are missing starts to pitch for the big league club. Owen White's up with the big league club, so they're having a bunch of guys that they're not getting. Solomon used to be an Astro. I think he pitched for the Diamondbacks a couple of years ago. Not awful, not a great command of the strike zone, but when when he can get some contact, it normally is pretty fairly weak. And I'm not saying that he's going to like come in and make starts for this thing, but I'm also not saying that he couldn't help this thing out of the bullpen at some point too. And I'm
So,
not saying he will. I'm just saying there's no reason why he can't.
so Rangers make a little bit of a signing there just to probably get
But
themselves a little bit of depth.
yeah, now in the last couple of weeks, it's been Solomon. They re-signed Chase and Shreve, Kyle Barraclaw. So they've been bringing a handful of guys that have major league experience into the system, getting them into Round Rock and getting them on the hill as fast as possible. Because
So
Barraclaw
Rangers,
they signed, he pitched that night. Solomon they signed, he pitched the next day.
man, it's been a minute since I've seen a team be at this like like this.
It's like 2014, man.
I mean,
Remember? I mean, it was like all of a sudden the Rangers were in first place the first week of June, and then the doors completely fell off.
right. I mean, and we're hoping that this team has a little more because of the veteran leadership. Maybe
Well, they're fairly healthy in the field.
right, right, right. Yep. Well, I think that's all we've got. Rangers news, real quick. Let me tell you. Is that it?
That's all I got. I mean, I'm sure if I dug a little deeper, I could find you some more. But we got plenty of time, and we need to jump right into these box scores because we got lots to talk about and kind of not a lot to talk about at the same time.
Well, don't forget to real quick. Let me tell you about our exclusive content. Down on the Farm with the Boys, we cover all things Rangers minor league. We just got a show in the bag. Really exciting. We got a lot to talk about, man. There's a lot going on in this farm system. Kind of some players that are kind of stepping up that we don't always talk about. We had our top 10 list as this week, as we always do, and we went all around the league and we went all around the farm talking about different players at different levels. I guarantee you're going to get a Jesus Lopez mention on that as well. So go check it out on our website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
Or on our Spotify page for just $1.99. You can make us your one-stop shop for all things Rangers organization-wide. You can also check us out right here on the CTH network at Chilltown Hoops. And you can go and subscribe to our exclusive content here as well. 3 different levels. At that 3rd level, you can hop on here and you can talk Rangers baseball with us on the podcast. So if you want to do that, which we want you to, it's a lot of fun. Come check us out. You won't regret it. Down on the Farm with the Boys. Become a farmhand today.
And don't forget Thursday night, we're going to be on the Ranger Report with Ben and CJ and Tyler.
Yes, we are going to be on the Ranger Report, and it's going to be fun, man. I mean, these guys know their baseball.
They're fun to talk to, and I had a bunch of fun when they were on the show with us, and I'm looking forward to having as much fun over there on their network as we had on ours.
Absolutely. So, don't forget to check that out. That will be on Thursday. So, all right, here we go. Probably going to be one of the least fun box scores we've done on our podcast. Probably.
Well,
ever.
you know what? We were looking for silver linings, right? Here's a silver lining. This thing was played during the weekend, and we only got to talk about this series one time.
One time.
That's all we got to talk about it. We're going to get through it here in the next 15 minutes, and then we're going to put it behind us and on to Cleveland or on back to Arlington. Bring on Cleveland.
I mean, I'm ready to be back to Arlington already. What is it with we didn't talk about it, but it's going to get brought up, so we might as well. Rangers and left-handed pitching has been.
Real quick,
Uh-huh.
Speaking of left-handing pitching, because it brought it to the mind that he hasn't been hitting it at all. Evan Carter's going to see a back specialist this morning before they make a decision on what they're going to do with him.
So yeah, man. So those two young outfielders for the Rangers that we had been really excited to see them play, both looking at possible stints on the DL, or the IL, or whatever you want to.
Don't be hurting disabled people's feelings, Kevin.
Yeah. So yeah, injured list, the injured list. So well, Rangers, man, I don't know, man. I mean, left-handed pitching has been as close to an Achilles heel as the injuries have. It's so much so that the Rangers decided they were going to send one of their top prospects for Robbie Grossman. Man, I didn't enjoy anything about these series over the weekend. I didn't feel like the team that we're used to seeing. I think the thing that was the most concerning was how easy the Rangers let Rocky's pitching get off the hook all weekend long. I mean, you can blame the umpiring. Umpiring was pretty bad, but it did go both ways for a lot of the weekend. But Rangers really weren't up there battling at the plate like you normally see. Really just letting these pitchers get off the hook easy, I thought. When you have guys that have such great at bats, some guys I felt like I felt like Jonah Heim you could tell he was still kind of locked in and trying to stay focused, but man, not a lot of good things to say about the weekend.
Steve Duran had a really nice weekend.
Yeah, Duran's
starting to hit. I'd like to see some power come into that hitting, but as of right now, I mean, you can almost guarantee he had a couple of balls that had eyes each night during the weekend. John Gray was excellent again. Yep. John Gray was really good. The walk killed him. Ended up being a run that tied the thing up. Anderson gets a loss, but those runs, I don't know. The explanation that was given was that Robertson and Yates needed an extra day off, and that's why they went to Latz and Anderson with the idea that Leclerc would be your closer, but they couldn't get you there. You ended up going to Yuri Rodriguez, who at this point, they're finding out whether they want to keep Yuri Rodriguez on their roster or not. That's what these moments have been for, and he hasn't performed in those moments. And don't be shocked, if he's optioned, but also don't be shocked that if they get to a point where they're willing to let him go, or at least try and clear him through waivers, to add a bullpen piece that can get somebody out.
Yeah. You can say it was definitely a questionable move about just the whole. Of course, I immediately was wondering what that was about. Corey Seager had a nice night. You kind of had thought maybe that was going to ignite the offense. Really didn't ignite too much of anything.
Rough call there against Lowe in the 7th on that slider that was about a foot outside the box.
Yeah,
that was a pretty rough one, but I'm not going to make excuses. But last week, Kevin, you asked me if I had noticed the umpires or how bad they had been, and I really, no worse than any other year, of umpiring. And then, literally 20 minutes after we are talking about this, here's old boy missing a ball that's a foot and a half outside the zone. I mean, and let's not even act like that was like a two-seam piece or something like that started in the strike zone. That was a slider that never got back. So that one was rough. I felt a little bit bad for Nate Lowe. You're talking bases loaded, a couple of outs, one of your top hitters at the plate. You've gotten into their bullpen and gotten Gomber out of there, and you're trying to put together a nice inning after, some things that started to go right. And it killed them, but you can't really put it, the game isn't on that. They got to score more runs than, check that 2-1 on Austin Gomber. Austin Gomber, I mean, you can't make Austin Gomber look like Sandy Koufax out there. Like, I don't hate Austin Gomber. I think Austin Gomber is a good pitcher, and there was a reason why he was able to fetch Nolan Arenado, but not 6 2/3 a run.
Well,
So
also too, like this is again, I think it goes back to this is the Rangers' MO this year is making not so good players look like they're really, really good. And Gomber was just another in a long line of these types of scenarios with the team doing this. We've seen so many. The funny part is I can't remember the names of these players because they're also like non-name guys. But man, you get some like if you got a lefty at AAA that's having a rough time, like and you're playing the Rangers, bring him on up,
send
man.
him up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
he's
mean, you
gonna
saw within that A's series, I mean, the Rangers saw nothing but lefties. They
Yep.
didn't see anything.
Well, and
So
yesterday we saw the same thing with Colorado. I mean, some guy, they threw
yeah.
out there and shut.
Yeah, and again, I think the Tavares injury or the Tavares error in the seventh was it hurt a bunch. I mean, that you make that catch, the Rangers go to they go a different direction in the eighth inning beside Jerry, and once it was a tied game, they go to Yeri, and I get it. Man, you've only got so many pieces on one end. But at the same time, man, you're still in that game, But when you're out of pieces, you're out of pieces. I mean, you're looking for someone to blame, but there's no one to blame. Just the fact that you're out of pieces. I mean,
Yeah.
14 guys on the injured list right now, and 12 of them or 11 of them are pitchers. That's just, I mean, it's rough and it's not exactly what you were looking for. But right now, you just got to keep working and keep grinding. And it's a long season. It's only May. They're going to get healthy. Bradford, Eovaldi, Dunning should all be on their way back relatively soon. So it's not like this is going to be forever. But at the same time, it does not feel good right now. And again, everything can change. Maybe let's chalk it up to the Rangers are a bad cold weather team. Who knows? But at the end of the day, you got to win some of these games and win this road trip. But Bird gets the win there for the Rockies. Grant Anderson takes the loss, and Beeks. He's got a name that Jalen Beeks. You wouldn't look at him and go, "Hey, there's a Jalen," but that's Jalen Beeks out there. He got the save, his second save. Jalen Beeks came into the game as their closer with one save. He leaves the series with 3. How about that? Doesn't feel real good, does it?
All right, Saturday Rangers. Yeah.
I got nothing more on Friday night. That was a game they probably should have.
I'm past. I don't even want it. Just
That's a game they probably should have won. Saturday night, David Robertson takes the loss. Kinley takes the win. He's improves to 2-0 with a 9.64 ERA. Once again, Andrew Heaney was good. Andrew Heaney went out there. He gave you a serviceable 5 innings. I thought Jose Leclerc was what he was. The balk wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't a deception move, but he moved, so it's a balk. Once after that, he settled in and got the couple outs that they needed. Robertson just wasn't able to close the door there in that eighth inning or whatever it was, seventh inning, where they scored 6 runs. He definitely didn't have his best stuff. Didn't look like he couldn't get control of that knuckle curve, and the cutter wasn't doing what he wanted. So just wasn't Robertson's night. I mean, I'm not kicking him out of the bullpen because of it. It was pouring down rain. He's trying to throw a knuckle curveball. That game probably should have been stopped after the 6th inning with the way that it was raining, but they wanted to get it in, and it wasn't thundering and lightning, so they continued to play. Wynn gave him an inning and a third. He gave up a couple. He gave up a run, but overall he wasn't awful. The Rangers, again, they were 0 for on Friday night, 1 for with 1 for 4 on Saturday night with runners in scoring position. Not a lot there, man. I mean, Leody Tavares had a pretty good game. He had the solo home run. He got on base a couple of times. And Duran, he had a couple of hits there at the 8-9. They had him out there for Simeon and Seager, but there wasn't a lot of impact there at the top. Nate Lowe had an RBI on a couple of walks, and overall the Rangers had opportunities, and they just never really got to Feltner. But I thought he was pretty good. I thought his stuff was pretty good. But they had chances there. But once the 7th inning happened and they had that disaster 6-run inning with 2 outs, and they just couldn't get that 3rd out, that thing was gone. And nothing overly good or bad to talk about in this thing. Robertson, of course, was not what you wanted to see, but it happens. It happens to even the best relievers in the history of the game.
All right, I got nothing, man.
You got nothing. Sunday.
I'm Sunday.
Sunday on to Sunday. Sunday. I mean, it started good. They had first and second, nobody out. Then Nate Lowe properly grounds into a ground ball double play. Nice piece of hitting by Dolly to get that run in there and get that run across after the double play. And that's basically the highlights of the Rangers offense.
Rangers 2 for 14 over the weekend with runners in scoring position.
13, but yeah.
2 for 13.
2 for 13. 2 for 13. Again, though, Duran a couple more hits. He was 6 for 10 over the weekend. So good weekend for Duran. Tavares had another hit. Jonah Heim had a hit. Nice piece of hitting in the 9th inning there to get on base right in front of Grossman's ground ball double play. So, the way she goes some nights, they weren't very good. The Rockies said, you know what? Forget throwing Dakota Hudson out there. Let's just go get a lefty and throw him. And they got 5 innings of 7-hit ball, and he worked his way around quite a few things. And then the bullpen held for the Rockies, and they got out of there with a 3-1 win. Wind-aided, altitude-aided home run in the first inning that Urena gave up. But other than that, he was really good. He gave him 6 2/3. Is what it is. Last 2 to 3 batters gave up a double. Nothing man. Great. Yeah, nothing great to talk about besides Urena. No. Urena was good.
No, I mean, but Duran, the only highlights of the weekend for the whole weekend for me, Urena continues to be good. Like you said, I'm not going to fault David Robertson. He's been too good all year long. He's allowed to have a rough start. In fact, the team's supposed to pick him up, pick a guy like that up. Everybody else is supposed to pick him up because he's been picking us up all year. So I'm not even going to hold that against him. Duran had a nice weekend. Seager got 4 hits over the weekend, so nothing too bad there. But, I think offensively, timely hitting's been an issue for the Rangers, but also power has been an issue. You go to Colorado, and you expect to come out of there with a few home runs. And Sunday Rangers get 0 home runs on
0 extra base hits.
On Sunday, they get 1 home run on Saturday from Leody, and then they get 1 home run from Seager. So 2 home runs in 3 games against
2 solo home runs.
2 solo jobs. Just offensively, right now we said this going into the weekend that the offense is going to have to pick up this pitching staff right now because that's honestly is the strength of the team, even with the pitching staff at its strongest. This team has a great offense. And again, I'm going to go and just say that my biggest kind of just disappointment was just that the Rangers had these young pitchers out there and weren't really, or just not even young, just guys that were kind of insignificant type guys and really didn't make them work. I mean, you get 70 pitches out of Black over 5 innings. So I mean that's not, you're not really even making the guy go out there and work. Yeah, I mean, I know my tone isn't very positive, but that's okay. It wasn't a positive weekend for the Rangers, and we got to be real here. But
And again, you take the good out of the weekend. You say, hey, starting pitching was
you know
still
what?
really good.
But you know what? Michael Lorenzen, he's starting tonight. And if anybody
Can I real quick before we get into the wrap up or for the tonight, just real quick, Jonathan Hernandez, please challenge someone someday. Stop walking dudes. Challenge somebody. You have good stuff. Challenge somebody.
yeah,
Go on.
just get a home run hit off of you or something.
I'd rather see that than you walk everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think again we're kind of we're learning a few things about these guys, but Lorenzen takes the hill tonight at home. You got to think that the Rangers, this team, has some pride. You wanted to see them bounce back at some point over the weekend with some of the disappointments. You got to think you're going to see you got to think you're going to see something from this squad tonight. And we're back home. Hopefully, warm weather, controlled weather in the stadium. So let's hope that we see something from our guys tonight, man. I want to see the fight and the heart that we know this team has come out again.
And Lorenzen will be opposed by Tanner Bybee. He's a little down this year to his normal numbers, but really good pitcher. I look forward to seeing him throw, and we'll kind of see what happens. But his last handful of starts, he's been okay. Nothing special. His first start was kind of rough, but overall, I mean, not too bad for Tanner Bybee, and Michael Lorenzen has been very serviceable so far with the Rangers as a starter, and I look forward to seeing that thing kick off. It's a 7:05, and it'll be on Bally Sports Southwest in 105.3, The Fan, for the radio broadcast if you prefer listening to Eric Nadel. And if they have Mike Bassick on there again tonight, I will probably prefer to listen to Eric Nadel.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks everybody for tuning in. Don't forget to check us out on our social media, TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word.
Where you can subscribe to our exclusive content, Down on the Farm with the Boys. We cover all things Rangers minor league. Thank you for watching us here on YouTube at the CTH Network at Chilltown Hoops on YouTube.
All one word.
That too, all one word. And thank you for subscribing and following us on your favorite podcasting network for the 300-pound manimal. This is your boy Kev. We are Texas Rangers with the Boys.